Morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see you all. We will kick off here in a few seconds, but I would love to see everybody jumping in the chat here. Maybe seeing a little bit where everybody is from would be great. Where are we calling in from? Where are we zooming in from? Spain, LA, Philadelphia. Philadelphia got a big sports year coming up with the Eagles. Madagascar, Chicago, Atlanta. Very cool. Awesome. Well, I will kick things off here, everybody. Hello and welcome. My name is Garrett. I am a partnerships manager over here at TalentPop. We're very excited to have you guys in for another See Explained meeting today, where we talk with some very, very high level people in kind of the e-commerce world from a bunch of our different partners. Today, we're going to be talking about don't react, profit, turning proactive CX into a revenue engine. We're very excited to hear all of the strategies and different ways that people use the community and e-commerce to drive proactive CX. Most CX teams are obviously spending their day in kind of reactive mode, answering tickets when stuff pops up. How do we get to the proactive side of that? We're going to be unpacking the shift on kind of how that actually happens, and then also seeing which different AI-powered omni-channel messaging strategies and how some of these other companies can kind of dive in to help us get on the more proactive side of things. If you are ready to jump in, I know we love this line every single time. I've been hyping this up. If you are ready to jump in, why don't you drop some lightning bolts in the chat? If you don't know where the lightning bolt is, you need to go find it. It's an emoji I will make people use often during this call. So hopefully you guys are ready to jump right in here. While we introduce some of our guests, I'm going to throw up a slide. Feel free to opt in to be able to win a $75 gift card and a free CX audit. And we are going to kick off by, introing some of our amazing panelists today. We have a great panel. Ash, why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, so my name is Ashley, nickname is Ash. I am a senior customer success manager here at TalentPop, and I am currently located in Austin, Texas, but I am a Georgia peach, born and raised. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I will pass it off to Nigel, who's right next to me.
All right, what's up, everyone? My name's Nigel. I'm the head of partnerships at Consio from Toronto, Canada. That's where I'm located right now. Consio, we're an AI phone platform for e-commerce, so automating a lot of the inbound stuff. But one of my favorite topics is getting proactive with outbound calling to your e-commerce segment. So super excited for the panel today. Thanks for the intro. Maybe we can have Billy go next.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. Hey, everyone, Billy here with Attentive. So Attentive's pioneered SMS. Everyone probably knows Attentive for SMS marketing, but has evolved quite a bit now an omni-channel platform. So we also manage the email channel, the push channel. Also pretty passionate about customer experience, worked on the customer support side over the years and like talking about customer experience from a marketing perspective as well. It's not just customer support. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Awesome. And last but not least, Amit.
Hey guys, good to be here. My name is Amit. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Richpanel. We are an AI native help desk and we integrate with Consio, Attentive. Also, TalentPop people work in help desk every day. So excited to be a part of this panel.
Awesome. I was going to say for a while, you guys were doing my job for me, just introducing the next person. This was great, making my life nice and easy. We are very excited to jump in and kind of hear from our panelists. Kind of wanted to, I guess, bridge this conversation here today, guys. Wanted to ask kind of a little bit of a question before we dive in. And this is kind of to everybody out here in the chat, but obviously, kind of want to know what your current CX conversion rate is. Drop a number in the chat. What percentage of your site traffic are you converting into buyers right now? We really want to see what this is looking like from a big grand scope of the community. So yeah, feel free to drop your CX conversion rate. We're gonna kind of kick stuff off in the chat with that as we dive into our questions and kind of the rest of our panel here today. Feel free to comment on everybody's. We'll be kind of talking about it a little bit later here in the webinar. Jumping into our first question, we'll be opening this up to the floor to the panelists. Panelists, from your vantage point, what does proactive CX actually look like for the brands doing it well? And what is the mindset shift that makes this transition possible?
Who's first?
This is a big deal. Who's going to do it?
I can jump in. I know customer experience. There's going to be a lot of takes on from the customer support perspective. I used to do customer support and worked for a customer support software company, and now I'm at a marketing platform. And so I think when it comes to proactive support from the marketing perspective, is it's not just post sale, it's not just customer support. I think for Black Friday, Cyber Monday too, you want to be thinking about the experience you're giving before someone becomes a customer as well. So how they engage with your brand on the website through messages. And so I guess, for example, I've been pitching conversational commerce way before AI was a thing. And it's even easier today because you don't need, you can use AI to essentially have a lot of these conversations, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. But so I would say, from a marketing perspective, when you think about SMS, for example, a lot of people broadcast they're one and done marketing campaigns, and they're not really having conversations. And so this will also touch on deliverability and warming up your list ahead of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but you want to be thinking about conversations with people before they purchase. And so last year, one of our customers, Kendra Scott, they had a campaign for Black Friday, Cyber Monday around gifting, and they would send out messages asking people to respond, and then they would respond back to start a conversation. I believe it was a gifting campaign. So it was like, hey, what's your budget for gifts for the holidays? Get your gifts here. They would give their budget, and then they would go back and forth on products within that budget. So that's just an example of one, it's warming up your list, and two, it's an experience you're giving before they've even become a customer or before they've made a purchase. So I would say thinking about customer experience as at the very beginning of the funnel as well, not just post sale.
Yeah, I think from what we see at brands who do this really well, it's really not a strategy that is really outside the box when you think about an in-store shopping experience, right? Like, what is proactive CX? We'll think back to the last time where you've been making like a high consideration purchase in a physical store. Maybe you're standing there, you're unsure, you have questions. Is this the right product for me? And then like a really helpful sales associate at that store comes up and is able to talk through exactly what you need, make really smart recommendations, and then ultimately let you walk out of that store with confidence that like you've nailed it. You've got the perfect gift, you've got the perfect piece of furniture for your house. And so the e-commerce brands that we're seeing do this really well treat it the same way. So the right timing. So if it's a checkout abandoner, make sure you're going after them when they're hot, with the right message, and the right like knowledge and resolution to be able to support people. If you can do that, you're going to convert checkout abandoners that you speak to at around 20%. And then it's just on figuring out how you can scale those touch points.
I think that's a really good point, Nigel. And from my perspective, what makes proactive CX actually work well with brands is when they view their customers as like friends, like we have a relationship. And rather than just seeing them as a consumer, like I want them to buy another product, like getting to know them. Like when you start a friendship with someone or a relationship, you're getting to know them. What do they like? What do they not like? Understanding their whys, following up, being inquisitive. So those types of approaches, at least from your customer experience team, definitely will translate, especially if too, like not everything's going to go perfect with every purchase. Like obviously, we all wish that was the case. So it would solve a lot of problems, but that's not the case. And so just like there's there's all types of hurdles that you'll go through in a friendship or relationship, but viewing that also to apply to your communications with your customers really will help because it's like, yes, we were wrong here. Maybe fulfillment wasn't on point, out of our control, but hey, let's work together. Like, how can I make this better? Like, how can I solve that pain point for you? Just how if your friend was upset with you, you would approach them and be like, listen, I'm sorry. Even though that wasn't how I wanted you to feel, this is what we're dealing with at the end of the day. So, like, how can I make it better? So, taking that approach and really leveraging your customer experience team to really interact with your customers will take it really, really far. So that's at least my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's very interesting. And I think the proactive side, I love the analogy you used of like your friend, right? Like you're always going to be there for your friend. You want your friend to have a good experience when they talk to you because they're your friend, right? So I totally get you there. And I think it's very interesting to kind of segue into kind of our next question. And Nigel, I'm going to kind of push this in your direction just because I think like the phone channel experience is like one of like the newer, more underrated ways to like be proactive in e-com. I think it's like kind of a constantly developing thing. I know you guys are working on a lot of stuff. So like Nigel, I guess like walk us through like most e-commerce brands still think phone is like a pretty reactive channel, right? Like you're getting a call from these people, so on and so forth. But I guess like in somewhere it's frustrating for customers to give in a call and not get that. What kind of revenue are brands actually leaving on the table by not having like a proactive voice or like a calling strategy? And like, can you share some like results and like some numbers so that kind of the panel can get an understanding for it?
Yeah, happy to. For sure. I think when you look at voice as a channel, like which kind of shoppers is that going to move the needle for? So like you have a big bucket of checkout abandoners. You're going to hit them with like your mass blast, email and SMS stuff. But like if you think about that message, you don't know why they abandoned checkout. They could have a whole host of hesitations, questions, reasons that might lead them to X out that tab and maybe go talk to somebody in person at a store near them. It's really hard to address those with mass blast. You're basically like your message is going to be something like, "Hey, you left something in your cart. Here's 10%, come back." We see voice converting like even like really high AOV checkout abandoners at close to 20%. And so what you're leaving on the table without reaching out and having a conversation with these people at scale is all those people who have something in mind that's holding them back, and it's not going to be solved by like a reminder message. It's like they need a conversation. So we have brands, furniture brands, high AOV products doing like $200,000-$300,000 a month in sales by converting checkout abandoners at 19% when they speak to them on the phone. So I think that's really what's being left on the table. Any shopper who has something specific that's holding them back, and it doesn't even need to be high AOV. I mean, you just need to be able to scale it and organize these calls and touch points. That's what we help with at Consio. Shameless plug. But yeah, I think that's what's being left on the table without voice and like the power of a real conversation to help convert.
For sure. And yeah, I like what you were saying is in terms of like the scalability side. Like I think it's especially with more calls, more customers being kind of attended to. Again, shameless plug, but obviously Consio is working on that quite closely. And yeah, we've really enjoyed working with you guys on that front. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. Billy, gonna kind of shift this over to you here at Attentive. I guess like kind of when most people in e-commerce think of Attentive, they think SMS. Obviously, when I worked there, I thought the same thing, but Attentive is like kind of taking a new strategy and kind of going in a different maybe a different path on their journey here, expanding into email and RCS and push notifications and all these different things. Can you kind of just walk us through what's live today and like what's on the roadmap for the rest of this year to kind of give everybody an understanding of where you guys are headed?
Yeah, it's a big question, so I'll try to be condensed. But yeah, I mean, SMS is still core to what we do. We're probably the leader in SMS marketing. Attentive pioneered that. But today like I had mentioned in the intro, we're an omni-channel platform. We power email, we power push, we power RCS now. And fun fact is Attentive sends more emails than they do SMSs today, which I think a lot of people don't know about, just because we're a newer email marketing platform. But really started establishing ourselves with some of the largest retailers globally on the email solution. And then I would say, before I get to the roadmap, one of the other kind of areas that we're really focused on, and we've been focusing on for over 2 years now, is the agentic marketing piece. And even before it became what it was today, we've started investing quite heavily. And so that's kind of where we're going, is autonomous or agentic marketing. So we have a handful of different agents that are a part of the platform for each part of the funnel. So we have the top of the funnel, which is like sign up units and opting in and growing your list. So we have an agent that essentially think pop-ups on the website, but all agentic. So the pop-ups are created by the agents. The pop-ups show to website visitors based on what the agent wants to show. It's not time-based or trigger-based. And so we have agents that help you capture more sign-up units and identify more website users. We also have what we call like our audience AI and identity AI. So we talk about like identify more people, but then audience AI is kind of the step towards getting away from like logic-based journeys and letting AI decide who to put in a specific journey based on what they're doing, instead of just having, static rules that will tell you when to put someone in a specific journey. So agents that are essentially putting people in those journeys. And then we have our journeys AI, which is the newer of those products. And that would be like true one-to-one personalization. So instead of putting, if me, you, and Nigel went through the same cart abandonment flow, instead of all of us getting the exact same text or exact same email, the copy would literally be different for me than it is for you, than it is for Nigel, based on what we know. So it's true one-to-one personalization, which couldn't really be done until today, now that we have the LLMs at the path they're at. So I'd say that's been a big focus, and it will continue to be a big focus, is building off on those agents. And then the roadmap's big, so I guess I'll just kind of leave it with one thing that's coming up that I'm excited for, and that would be our MCP connector. So we're in beta now with like 100 clients. I'm sure most people are familiar with MCPs, but that will just allow marketers to essentially run their programs on the LLM, so through ChatGPT and through Claude. And so I think that's going to be a pretty cool evolution of the platform now that we're slowly getting out of beta with that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, hey, I have to attend to the chat as well. We had a question come in from Kat. Billy, I'm going to kind of shine this over to you. Are you guys offering a test pilot program for kind of the e-custom AI journeys? Like, is that something you guys are doing or something that's coming?
Yeah, I mean, happy to chat. Kat, I see your question. So we do actually have we're calling them trials, but essentially, yeah, we allow, if I don't know if you're on Attentive or not, but we can get you testing the product and looking at kind of the results with the agents running that part of your platform versus the way that you'd be doing it now. So happy to chat if you wanted to reach out, or Garrett, if you want to connect me afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds like they're on Attentive, so.
There you go. So yeah, again, by the way, that's how fast I'm answering these questions in the chat. So keep them coming. I mean, that was under like a minute and a half. That's pretty quick. So anyways, keep those chats coming. Again, we'll shift a little bit of gears. As you guys can see, we're shifting from kind of phone, Consio, that side of the market, to the SMS, the email side. And then now we're going to kind of shift and bring Ahmed in on kind of the CX help desk side, as kind of that sits on the front, I guess. And we've heard from Consio and everybody else. Obviously, Richpanel sitting on kind of the help desk side, working very closely with you guys, even over here at TalentPop. I guess, do Richpanel and these two platforms, like, do they integrate well? And if so, I guess, like, what does that combination open up for brands that are trying to build like one unified proactive CX operation, rather than just kind of having like 7 different tools that everybody's trying to connect together?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So, short answer is yes, we do integrate with Consio, we do integrate with Attentive. What you really want in your CX team is like have one context, one memory, one policy that is commanding like all the channels. So irrespective of the customer coming through SMS or phone call, they get the same context. And that context could be used for AI agents. So that context could also be used for your support agents. But they get like this one unified experience, irrespective of the channel. And it's also very convenient to respect the person. So like one of the things that we do with a lot of these SMS platforms is actually suppress marketing when they have like an open ticket, right? So you don't want to be like in a situation where a customer is complaining and you're throwing like more offers at them, right? So you can like systematically temporarily suppress them, and there's just like a little amount of care you could show, and show like, hey, this is like one org, one entity that is communicating with me, and so that's like one thing. Second is, if a customer is reaching out to you after receiving like an SMS promotion, or after they've made a call to you, you're able to see like that entire history in that one unified platform, so that that journey is like in front of the customer when they respond to them. So the customer just feels like welcome. And most of the customers, they're not very aware of like how an ecom entity is structured. They don't know that you guys are using like 50 SaaS tools. They don't know that, this thing is being run by Consio, this thing is on Richpanel, this thing is Attentive. They have no such clue. They just think like, oh, I'm talking to Caden Lane, or they just think like, oh, I'm talking to Ridge Wallets. They just think of you as like one entity. So by unifying everything in one place, they're like, oh, I'm talking to like one person, irrespective of who I get on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess that does make sense. Nobody's seeing all the back end work, but they do just associate the entire experience with the brand, right? So I think that's so important for those brands to really bring in, hey, how do we make these tools work as cohesively as possible? I know the word, I feel like last year a little bit, maybe the AI word as well, but consolidation is just getting bigger and bigger. So I think even as that, trying to keep everything under one roof is definitely helpful, and having it all work together simultaneously to make sure that everybody has a good experience. So no, I totally understand where you're coming from there as well. Ash, we're gonna tie this whole thing together here. We're gonna create the circle, the kind of the circle of ecom here. That's what I'm calling it. But obviously, Talent Pop is unique to the panel, obviously, because our agents kind of work inside all of these different tools every day. So they're trained to make sure that everybody has a good experience, whether it's the attentives, the concios, and kind of the rich panels as well. But I guess like on behalf of like your side, what does it look like in practice when you've put a trained team behind all of these channels and kind of having a fully proactive strategy? And I guess like, do you have any like success stories that maybe you've seen directly on kind of the customer success side at TalentPop?
Yeah, good questions. So starting off with the first part of your question, in practice, what that looks like when you have a trained team utilizing all of these tools, you're not just looking at your customer support team to just respond to an email, a chat, pick up a phone call, because that's just a really reactive approach and not thinking long term. Because remember how I tied in the beginning, like relationship, okay, we are in this for a long-term relationship. And so when you have a trained team behind it, your customer journey is factoring them in and how you're framing that. Oftentimes you might find a brand creates their customer journey just solely on like loyalty, get this reward. Okay, then once you get this purchase, you make this one rather than like, okay, how are their interactions going to shift with their customer support team? So this will look like they're monitoring what's happening across all the channels, but they also have the bandwidth to proactively identify any like common inquiries because that's your first line of defense. That is essentially like if we're thinking PR here, like your PR person is just as important as your customer support team. Especially too now in age with social media, you'll often also know, because even me on the consumer end, when I am shopping or doing my little research before I make a purchase with a new brand, I'm also looking in the social media comments, like, have they answered a question I might ask? And like, how was that interaction looking like? Because, I love a kiki and I would like to kiki with the brands that I'm shopping at. So they're able to identify, common themes and issues, but also reach out before problems scale. We're all about to be in the height of Q4, Black Friday, Cyber Monday season. And with that, those don't always go perfect, which is understandable. Some things are out of our control, but just like if fulfillment is delayed, and let's say there are hundreds of orders and, everyone's just feeling the stress. When you have a team that is trained well, they're able to proactively reach out. It may not be everyone, so a mass email will not work. Maybe it's just 100, but directly checking on each of those, sending a personalized email, that level of touch will make a experience that could be difficult smooth over way easy because it's like, oh, they took the time to reach out to me. They know I might be frustrated. It automatically diffuses a situation that could really bubble up. So that's like one aspect too, but also that also will recover that customer who I would label at risk down the line. Because then it's like, hey, when something went wrong, they're proactive enough. I'm still gonna make purchases with them. I'm still keeping them in mind when I'm doing my gifting during the season as well, because if something happens again, I know that they're gonna reach out to me and let me know what's happening. So you're also establishing trust with them when you have a trained team being able to utilize like all these different tools as well. And like some people we know they love a little email. Some are like, hey, send me a text message. I'm on go. So if you have all these channels open, you can also get to the customers each one. I'm someone that I'm like, send me a text or leave me a voicemail. And I would love to see more brands that I shop at leave me a voicemail letting me know, like, hey, we just saw you made your first purchase. Let me know like what your thoughts are, like if you have any suggestions, because I will gladly give that to them so I could see the changes I want to see in that brand moving forward. And a lot of people don't leverage that because they see phone as a reactive channel. But I think more people should really leverage that, especially because we're in the age of a lot of automation. So like stand out, like be like, we're here. We're here with technology. We're in this day and age, but we're also leveling up on our human touch. So I think utilizing all those aspects definitely will set it apart, having a trained team. And for the success stories, mm, I have quite a few, but I would say with one of my brands utilizing here, and also another one at TalentPop, they have a setup where they utilize an e-commerce sales specialist to handle all their pre-purchase um, inquiries that come in and the customers. So like we're at the point now where some people might be thinking of like, oh, I want to order this. It's a limited edition. It might be pre-order. And those types of products can come with their issues nonetheless, because you get people that are antsy. We're all guilty, at least I am, of checking like our confirmation email, seeing where the order is, like when I'm gonna get it. I wonder if it's gonna come early, is it gonna come on time? And so having someone solely focus on that has been helpful for one of the brands, as well as you have your general support, but then also post-purchase. Like you just don't want to neglect any part of that because once again, a relationship. We gotta just think all aspects of it. So rather than having your team focus on all the different layers, specialize them. Have an e-commerce specialist for pre-purchase, have your core team, and then have someone solely focus on post-purchase. I think that setup is like the dream setup if I had to pick one. So yeah, those are my examples.
No, those were fantastic examples. I think there was a few things that stuck out to me as Ashley was saying all of that stuff. Number one, like talk about getting text messages and getting emails. So many people prefer so many different things now, right? So it's so great to have all of those different options. It's also great to have the full cycle of kind of touch points through pre-purchase, post-purchase. I never buy stuff online, but when I do, I'm always looking for when it's going to get there. And I think anybody that says they're not, I think they might be lying to us. I think everybody's always curious when that's coming through. So yeah, definitely an interesting point and something for all these different types of brands to think about when they are selling to sellers online. There was one trigger thing. I don't know if anybody had a jump scare, but Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I feel like some people freak out when they hear that. For me, I get excited for it, but I know it definitely is a time of year where everybody has to figure out, hey, how do I be proactive? How do I get ahead of this, right? When the Black Friday kind of huge season surge is coming. So I want to open this back up to the floor. Obviously, all of these people are very, very aware of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I'll have their different strategies to combat it here. But I want to open it back up to the panel. Obviously, we've built a case for this proactive CX and these proactive conversations, right? But I guess with peak season just a few weeks away, nobody freak out. You still have time. How does the urgency change, I guess, for brands that are completely reactive right now or mostly acting reactively? And like, I guess, what's at stake if they don't maybe make that shift in time this holiday season?
I
I think
can,
I can. Oh, sorry, Ashley.
oh no,
Rock, paper,
Nigel, go
scissors.
ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I could bring some perspective for brands who are currently running a phone channel. Um, if you decide to put a phone number on your website, it's because there are a subset of customers that you really want to speak to. whether it's like high AOV shoppers that aren't going to buy without talking to somebody. Um, if you're going to try and like be more proactive this peak season, it's going to be really hard if your voicemail inbox is piling up, the phone's ringing off the hook. You're going to get behind and it's going to be too difficult to go proactive. So I would say just looking into like making sure your automation is shored up. So whether that is, setting up email chat automation in Richpanel, or looking to your phone channel and like how can you add a layer of automation in so that you're not telling people their order status all day. You're only talking to people who really need to speak to a human, and then that's going to free up time to be proactive and go engage with some checkout abandoners, maybe some lapsed customers who could come back for your Black Friday deals. But just shoring up your automation, making sure you're ready to actually have time to be proactive this peak season instead of kind of drowning in the tickets and the voicemails.
That's a good share, Nigel. I was gonna say, at least on my end, what I've seen with the various brands that I've worked with, when it comes to not being proactive and, still kind of being behind my ideal timeline, I would say, the trends that I would notice is coverage in terms of staffing for the team. I think a big difference, and I will always advocate for my clients to do this, but looking at your customer support team to be able to handle anything that is thrown at them. Most times when we open up this conversation, they'll be like, oh, I need, just like 5 people. And it's like, okay, is that because you think everything's going to go right through the quarter? And most times, like, yeah, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, let's prepare for everything to go wrong, right? Because that is a big difference. I had, there was a brand that wasn't able to get enough team members on board because they were thinking like, we're good with what we have, nothing's gonna go wrong. But then the carrier that they primarily worked with was having some big issues that was delaying their shipments 2 to 3 weeks. And if Christmas is right around the corner, you have some lovely, passionate customers that are reaching out to the brand first. They're not going to the carrier because they're like, listen, I bought this from you. Like, you have to help me fix this. And so with that, just preparing your team for things that go wrong will help alleviate a lot of stressors and headaches, not only on your end, but on your customers' ends too. Because once again, like I said, hurdles, they do come, but let's prepare for those things to happen so that if they don't, then we can utilize that time to be more proactive across the board. So that is what I would say. What could potentially happen if you don't make a shift before you hit like the peak season.
That's a good point. One thing I would like to add is like before you can get proactive at that interaction level, which is the advice that all the panelists gave, I think you have to first get proactive at the macro level. What I mean by that is like whenever we are talking to the founders, they will often say like, oh, let's do phone call, let's do chat, let's do retention flows. And then you go like, founder -1 at the head of CX, and they're like, we are drowning in tickets, right? So many of these brands wouldn't even have a chat channel. They won't have a phone channel. So these are like great initiatives that the founders want you to do. They're like, you're sitting on like this massive wealth of data. Let's do voice of customer. And the head of CX is like, my ticket backlog after BSEM takes January to clear, right? So that's where the misalignment is. And before you can do all of these proactive initiatives, the CX heads need to be proactive at the macro level. What do I mean by that? What does that look like in practice? Is I think Billy alluded this in the beginning of the conversation. Today you have like MCPs into like all the help desks. So you can go into like Richpanel, Zendesk, Gorgeous, whatever you're using. You can actually use Claude MCP to determine what kind of tickets are you getting. Okay. And what's the average handle time? Like some tickets are like really complex. Agents are having to click like 3 or 4 systems. So your job as the head of CX first becomes like, how do I remove this friction points? So I'm ready for BFCM. I'm ready for these additional initiatives. So you get proactive in the sense like, hey, what my forecast looks like in BFCM. Are we equipped to like let AI handle a majority of this volumes? have we removed all the friction from agents to seamlessly resolve this? And once you have that kind of capacity is when we are now able to go into like what the execs really want. So what that could look like in practice is like, hey, we want to like proactively educate all our subscribers so that our product becomes a habit. So let's set up like campaigns on Attentive. So after they subscribe to a product, we are able to like educate them. So that becomes like a part of it. Second could be like, hey, anytime somebody's coming for a cancellation, let's do some basic retention flows through AI, and then let's have them go to like a phone call, because human beings are like excellent and very effective. So let's hire a few agents at TalentPop. Let's use Consio as a phone channel so we are able to get them to retain more of these people, right? So I think first step is taking care of your volume influx, because once the head of CX has some breathing room, then they're able to like invest in a lot of these initiatives which really move the needle, right? Like CX has moved beyond just resolving tickets. Founders are looking for outcomes, and for the head of CX to deliver this, step one, you know, get the volume under control, and then step two is investing in these efforts, which is, hey, retention cancellation flows through phone calls. Let's do like product education flows through Attentive, and that's where the whole strategy sort of comes together. So my advice heading up to BFCM is be ready with the forecast, see how many people you need. We have people that will go from like 90 agents to like 150 agents during BFCM. So if you're like very well planned, then all of these initiatives become possibility. But before that, we need to get that volume under control, either through AI automation, either through like bringing someone like TalentPop inside, but being ready for handling that capacity. So that's my advice.
Yeah, and I'll close it out. I think that's great advice. Assuming you're prepared for the influx of orders and inquiries and phone calls and support pre-sale, I guess like just three things that I think through. One, most brands, and most brands should be doing this, send 2 to 3 times more messages during the Black Friday Cyber Monday week, which is why you're going to see an influx of all of these things. Um, when it comes to being proactive, I guess I'll just kind of leave it with 3 tips from a pre-sale perspective. So one would be that this one's obvious. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but like all of your triggered campaigns, your welcome flows, your browse abandonments, your pop-ups, anything, like update all of the copy to be Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It's not a good experience if they're generic flows when you're also pumping out all of your promotional stuff for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. The second one is trigger timing. So um, sending like a browse abandonment the following day is probably okay in a normal week. But there's a lot more urgency of a few days that people are purchasing. So you should basically speed up and reduce the time to sending out your triggered messages significantly during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So look through all of your triggered campaigns and basically shorten how long it takes to get those messages out because of the urgency. And then I would say the third one, we send, a lot of brands send 2 to 3 times more messages. I would increase the number of touch points as well, outside of just promotional stuff, but all your triggered campaigns too, because of that urgency. So update your copy, send out more touch points, and reduce the time it takes to get those messages out during that week. I'd say those are 3 things you can do to be proactive, and they're all relatively easy to implement for your team.
100%. I mean, that was some great conversation, guys. I think that was exactly what we were looking for. I did get delayed in answering this question in the chat, but that was because there was so much good stuff going on. I couldn't interrupt. I would be curious to see the recommendations you just made scaled to different business sizes. Might need a little bit more context on what this was referring to because I know we kind of just went on for about 5 minutes there. I apologize, but I believe it's Aileen. Please drop in there what you want to get answered here, and we're happy to jump back in there and kind of answer that question. In the meantime, while we're waiting for more questions in the chat, I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit towards Amit in the Richpanel help desk side here. Obviously, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is kind of one of the few moments where brands see, I guess, a wave of like very high intent shoppers, right? It seems like some people get the amount of traffic they would get for months on end in literally a 2 to 3 week span. So I guess how does Richpanel's like proactive live chat help turn the traffic into actual like conversations? And then also like what does the platform specifically enable to make the reactive supports like simply enable in the moment that the reactive support simply can't?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've seen we all know that we can use like personalized campaigns based on like the user activity or the user behavior. So uh, you could set up campaigns in the sense like if someone is stuck on the product page for like more than 5 or 10 seconds, we should we should try doing objection handling proactively. Like, hey, here's our return policy. Like, do you know you can try it for like we offer like a 60-day money back guarantee. So here's like, or here's what two other people had to say about it. And we have agents available online to like answer any of your questions. So based on the dwell time on specific pages, that's one of the ways people are enhancing the conversions on the website. So that's one piece. Second is it's really cumbersome to be creating a lot of these AI flows yourself, like hand coding a lot of them. So a lot of complaints we've seen from brands coming to us is like, hey, AI is all good, but I wanted lesser tickets. I got a AI engineering project. So I'm setting up all of this context, creating all of these prompts, connecting all of these tools, and it takes me weeks of like fine tuning and babysitting before the AI reaches any meaningful volume. So one of the things that we have done is like you no longer have humans that manage the AI. You have like a boss AI that manages the context for the other AI. So it becomes like really easy for you to like tell your intent and let Claude and all of these agents like build out these proactive campaigns for you. So those are also very effective. It's no longer weeks of delicate flow builders. It's just like, hey, this is what I want done. Agent builds it for you. You preview it. You're like, looks good. Publish. So those are the new technologies available today, which people should take full advantage of and try to like boost the conversions during BFCM.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I think the big boosting of conversions during BSCM is kind of everybody's goal, but again, how do we do that starting at the help desk and moving into all of these different platforms within the backside of your CX, right? So I think the big thing that again, we're going to loop back to this question here in the chat. Now, I guess the recommendations about super trained agents versus compartmentalized CX, Ash, I think you were going over this quite a bit here.
Yeah.
What are the recommendations? How do you do this with scaled business? Let me kind of pass the torch back over to you.
Yeah, thanks. And great question, Aline. I would say for this, it definitely depends on a couple things. One, the monthly inquiry volume you're experiencing, but also two, um, an annual look at the business growth and the projections that are in the upcoming years. But I would say, like, let's say that you have four customer support agents that are working, right? I recommend, at least at this point, you start to consider giving them a specialization, especially too, because, obviously every brand wants to reach growth and continue to see that success as they scale over the years. So when you start to have that format, it'll help when you start reaching really, really large volumes. But this also helps on another portion, speaking of Black Friday, because when
Now,
you potentially need to do some seasonal hiring just to have some support for a couple months, knowing that your yearly, volume is not what you'll experience in November, December, January, it will help with the onboarding as well because you won't have to think, I need to train, 10 people to help me and they need to know absolutely everything. That can be overwhelming, on your end, on the team members that are temporarily supporting, they're not here for the long term if they're seasonal. So giving the specializations definitely helps. One of my clients does this. We do batches because we spike up at least double team size during this time of the year. And so what they'll do is they'll do about three batches, and for one team, they have a couple teams, but for one of the teams, they'll do like three batches, another will be two, but they will give them specialization. So one of their teams is solely focused on doing auditing, making sure the order processing is happening in the correct format and flagging any issues. Another one will handle escalations only. Another one will just handle basic inquiries at that point. But I think that format helps. And especially too, once you reach a big size, you also need to have people dedicated to certain roles. So like if you need someone to solely focus on QA, like you are only one person. You're not going to be able to review thousands of tickets to make sure everything's going right. Maybe you have a couple of QA specialists to keep an eye on things, create reporting based on that, give you trends. So you have that data to use when it comes to talking about, okay, what went well in this season, looking at DSAT analysis reports. So QA is helpful there. Also, maybe if you're not the team lead yourself, but maybe if you have a team lead underneath you, you know, when they're supporting so many people, at some point it's like, okay, I am being pulled, every which way because there's too many people asking me for questions or insight. Maybe you need another person to help. So I would say if you want to just send me a message too, if you had anything specific in mind, I can cater it to you. But it definitely varies, but I would say super trained agents, yes, they're great. But when you depend on people solely as a catch-all, then it kind of handicaps them from being able to really excel in certain areas. So that is what I would share on that portion.
No, that was fantastic. This is why we ask the questions in the chats, guys, because we can get real answers directly from the people that are doing this day in and day out. So, fantastic question. I'm glad we were able to kind of circle back and talk a little bit more about that. Pivoting back to the wonderful world of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I know we were just talking with Amit, but Nigel, I guess, kind of from the phone side of things, I know we see quite a big surge in abandoned carts during the Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I think everybody's just looking for something to buy during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I guess just diving in a little bit more, it's an enormous pool of recoverable revenue, basically, for a lot of these brands. What is, I guess, Consio doing on the outbound setup side, specifically for Black Friday, Cyber Monday? And then also, are there timing or sequencing plays that really help during the peak season? I guess walk through what you guys are working on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think to go back to something Billy shared from the retention marketing side, brands are going to be doubling, maybe even tripling the amount of email and SMS that they're sending. And that as a shopper just compounds like I know my email inbox is going to be crazy. My phone's going to be buzzing off the hook with text messages. So phone is going to be a really effective channel during this time to cut through the noise. But from a strategy perspective, like with that surge in volume, you're not going to be able to like have your team call everybody, right? So how do you use it as like a Swiss art, like a very precise channel? And so I'd recommend like when the volume peaks, like just amend that segment that you're targeting to go after the real priorities. It might mean something different for different stores. Perhaps like you only want to target those big high value carts with one-to-one outreach and make sure you're converting those. Maybe it's for your brand, it's the people who are looking at a subscription product versus a one-off purchase. So just getting kind of smart with the segment and how you prioritize is really going to help you like apply that bandwidth that you do have in the most effective way. And that's what we see brands shift to on Consio on the outbound CX phone side during peak season. What's going to be really fun though, this time around Black Friday, Monday, Cyber Monday is we're going to have brands using outbound AI calls for cart abandoners, whatever, trying to find people who have purchase hesitation and then live transferring them into the human team, which comes through the same call queue. So that's going to be another really interesting way to set it up so that it's like scalable and you don't need to throw too many agents at it. So yeah, like on the segment, target your highest priority because it's going to be your best performing channel, but it's you gotta pick where you aim that. And then if you're open to it, like using AI to do the outbound work and then transfer it to the live human when you get someone who wants to talk.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, the AI outbound is very interesting. Again, with just such a surge of traffic, like that could be really, really helpful in terms of scalability. So, yeah, obviously Consio taking a very, very good look here at Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and helping you guys all get prepared. We're gonna actually segue back to Ash. Obviously, Black Friday, Cyber Monday staffing is a big, big question that a lot of people get asked here. So I guess Ash, when Black Friday, Cyber Monday, is when the human layer of CX either pays off or gets, borderline overrun and overwhelmed, right? I think that's a lot of the conversations that we hear. What does like a well-staffed BFCM CX operation actually look like these days? And maybe even scalable for different sizes for the small market, mid-market, and then enterprise. I guess how can these brands prepare for that higher season, and how do some of your clients prepare with their agent counts as well?
Yeah, of course. I know I shared an example earlier about like what can happen, if you don't prepare the correct way, but getting into how to do it the correct way, in my opinion, I would say looking at historical data year after year of like, okay, how did we perform last year? And then also noting what big differences there'll be. So let's say last Black Friday season, you didn't do a big push. There were no new product launches, but we had, a nice discount code that applied and we got some good traction. But this year, there's going to be a marketing launch for a brand new product, maybe limited edition version as well. You should definitely anticipate a larger inquiry volume. And hopefully, those orders are definitely going through as well. So I would say proactively, like noting like what the trend has been. What I do for my clients is we'll do forecasting analysis for at least the past year, but if we have enough data to go off, we'll take it back as many years as you'd like. And then from there, what we'll also look at is what are the KPIs that we're trying to make sure everyone hits and base it off of that. I would steer away from banking on, okay, everyone needs to reply to 150 tickets per day. Because at the end of the day, you're also wanting to retain these individuals to support you through this busy season and potentially long term. So you don't want to burn anyone out. So I would say, let's be realistic here. Like, if you were in that position, how many tickets would you be like, okay, I can handle this every day and not burn out, and I'll still be happy? I think a lot of times people might forget like this is someone at the end of the day, helping and trying to really connect with your customers. Because remember earlier, like I recommended, brands need to look at their customers as like their friend. They're in a relationship with them. And if you're constantly just looking at every interaction with them, like I only got 2 minutes, I got to just quickly get in, quickly get out, then you are really missing an opportunity to increase that loyalty and truly understand like what potential issues you might have with your customers that they may not be telling you. Because when it comes to completing like a CSAT, right? We have all made purchases and we'll get those automated emails of like, hey, do you want to leave a review? Give us feedback. And most people do not take the time to do that. Maybe there are some people that is what they do, but most people do not leverage that every purchase that they make. And so you're not getting the feedback that you would through that channel. So if you're having an interaction with them via like an email or a phone, you are able to also get that feedback in real time. So I would base it off of one, just historic data, what the marketing plans are and what discounts we're going to be utilizing in the busy season, but then also to looking at SLAs. And let's be realistic. I listen, it would be a dream to be like, yeah, okay, I don't need that many people. Everyone do 200 tickets an hour. Like, boom, that's awesome. But that's just not realistic. And when you get into that type of territory, you risk burnout, which takes more work to, bring someone else in to potentially backfill. So the goal is to retain through the busy season and even long term. So I would say looking at those couple things definitely helps to be properly staffed. And also another layer to that too, I know we're almost at time, but another layer to that too is also thinking about your onboarding plans. So like if you know you have quite a bit of materials, you've got several different product lines, having a training specialist support. We have training specialists here at TalentPop, and what I'll have them do is essentially become an expert on my client's brand, and then we create the training materials around it, fun decks, little assessment, pop quizzes. We'll have role plays for the ones that are doing phone support. And that really helps take off the burden and time consumption on the client's end because they're just trying to prepare for the busy season and get through. So utilizing that training specialist has also been a huge time saver and really preparing the agents for success as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, that I mean that was your good information right there. And again, I think like it's all scalable, right? I know we only have a couple
Mhm.
minutes here, but I actually do want to give Billy over here at Attentive an opportunity to answer this because Attentive found some like research on this, and like 43% of consumers unsubscribe because of message fatigue, right? So just getting too many texts from during the Black Friday Cyber Monday when the inboxes are crowded. I guess Billy, how do you use Attentive's new AI capabilities, the prediction analytics, the AI campaigns to make sure that your messages are the ones that you actually want to get through to these customers and kind of convert here?
Yeah, with the last couple of minutes, I mean, this really starts. You should like deliverability is at the forefront of this, and this is something you should be doing all year round. If you're only thinking about it a few months before, you might be in a bad place. If you have a bad domain reputation, if you have bad deliverability, when you increase the volume of messages, aside from people unsubscribing, they're just not even going to get those messages. And the people that unsubscribe because of fatigue are the people that you probably shouldn't be sending messages to, or at least not as many messages. Um, so the first thing I would say is like if you're trying to grow your list right now before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the way you opt people in. So you'll hear this from Attentive, but the way that we do our two tap opt-ins with SMS. So essentially, a customer will message the brand to opt in. That's always going to hit the primary message inbox on your iPhone. Whereas if most of the other providers, when you get opt-ins, you're actually texting them to opt them in, and that's going to hit. There's a now in texting there's a promotional or a spam inbox, and so just already the way that the carriers and the inboxes look at opt-ins is like, is this person engaging with the brand? If they are, we're going to send it and we're going to put it in the right inbox. So just right off the bat, how you're opting people in is going to affect that. The other piece too is list cleaning. Again, like if you're sending people that are fatigued right now, they're going to unsubscribe. And then when it comes to our audience AI and our identity AI and the journeys AI, essentially that's a lot of the stuff that we're looking at. If there's a trigger that puts someone in a journey and they're not engaging, our AI will not put them in that journey. We'll remove them from that journey, and that's going to keep you with a high quality list. So I would say again, it depends on what platform you're doing, but I would be looking at your deliverability now. I would look at how you're opting people in, and I would also um, be very careful leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday about who you're sending messages to. And essentially, if people aren't engaged, you shouldn't be sending messages to them, or at least reduce the frequency that you're sending.
Absolutely, yeah. And definitely don't want to thin out the list that's available to send for Black Friday and want to be careful of those people getting those repeat messages as well. So guys, this was a fantastic webinar. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you to our panelists that came out from all of these different types of brands. I know that you probably want to ask, is there a replay? Is there, ways to get in touch with these people? I'll have all these people drop their information in the chat here. Feel free to join our See Explained community as well. That's a community where everybody is talking about all of these issues and all of these great solutions all the time. I am going to share our CX audit for kind of the last chance to join the giveaway. But again, please feel free to reach out to any of these amazing people. And you guys all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Garrett. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Bye.